Welcome to episode 59 of Rebirth Revolution. My name is Melissa Olson. This week I watched the season finale of The Vow on HBO. It is the story of a man who made himself into a cult leader and all the people who fell for what he was selling. I've got to say, it pretty much perfectly explained the very concepts that we have been talking about for the last year. The show is a good way to look at how a low-level person can use their intellect, which is a completely separate thing from their level of spiritual awareness, to manipulate the reality of those who are seeking his knowledge and approval. Low-level people seem to always need to construct an alternate universe. I suppose that's because they can then anoint themselves as the leaders of their made-up worlds. People were drawn to this man because he allegedly possessed an extremely high IQ. This mistake of thinking that only one part of a person matters, in this case a high IQ, is what gets us in trouble time and time again. Intelligence, wealth, fame, and looks have to matter much less than someone's character, or, for our purposes, their spiritual awareness. Spiritual awareness is not about the religion anyone professes. It is about their ability to move through this school with honesty, integrity, empathy, and humility. Those attributes are not gained or diminished directly by religion or lack of religion. They are personal choices that one makes in each and every decision that comes their way. You don't have to be religious to have a high level of spiritual awareness, though any tradition that reminds you of the importance of these attributes can help. I say can because some religions have trap doors that can drag you back down. Many who identify as atheists have much more spiritual awareness than those who identify as deeply religious. How you identify matters much less than the quality of the choices you make. The Creator is not insecure enough to need or require your buy-in. In The Vow, the cult leader admits in this episode that the ultimate power one can have is to have no conscience. To him, the most powerful people are not burdened by honor. He believes them to be genetically superior. The leader was drawn to those who were not burdened by having a conscience. Does that remind you of anyone? Empathy is an attribute that you develop as you move to higher levels of spiritual awareness, and it does, indeed, make the game more difficult. But being at a higher level gives you stronger tools to do so. Obviously, it is easy to get what you want in the world if you take no one else into account. You live your life in a smash and grab sort of fashion. Those who have empathy have to think things out in a more complex way. You have to think it out further than your own immediate desires. You need to think of what the impact will be on others, which will complicate matters, but it also lessens the chances that you will end up in prison like this leader did. This following his argument that those who are void of empathy and honor have more freedom. That's ironic. Honesty, integrity, and humility can also be seen as impediments to getting what you want. But if you can't get what you want while still adhering to these principles, will what you get bring you what you truly desire? It's entirely possible that anything obtained or achieved in the wrong way will bring results that are designed to make you realize the error of your ways. Those in Nexium were taught that if their self-esteem was low, they could destroy their conscience by hurting people and destroying things, and that would make them feel good. How wild to make an intellectual argument for the upside of destroying your own conscience. But this is what powerful, low-level people do. They want to break down your character until you will do anything they wish to execute their evil plans. He used his intellect to break down the natural defenses that each person possessed, the defenses that had served them up until the point that they met him. He also was hyper-aware of people's vulnerabilities. He was adept at attacking them in all of their wounded spots, and in doing so, he made them want his approval and acceptance, which they never quite received. Trapping people in a cycle of seeking approval and love is a powerful ploy. The drive we have for love and acceptance can easily override our best thinking and character. It's an interesting mix, intellect and low levels of spiritual awareness. It's a toxic blend. But we have also seen what low levels of intellect combined with low levels of spiritual awareness turn into. Equally toxic, equally manipulative, but with a different target audience. I've said that we can only hear and assimilate information from people at or near our own level of spiritual awareness, but I think there's something else in play here. Our level of intellect comes into play. Everyone has the desire to change the world into what they think it should be. Everyone wants to be right, and they want to have a life that is meaningful. But those at the lower levels of intellect are easily convinced that the role they can best play in healing the world is shooting people in the streets if their candidate doesn't win an election. Those at the higher levels of intellect think they can change the world through twists in logic and drawing others into what is basically a multi-level marketing arrangement. This particular cult leader, like those in another religion that I can think of, used the term suppressive for anyone who rejects any part of what he is teaching them. That is another part of being a low-level person. You simply cannot abide any form of accountability or checks and balances. They are not allowed because low-level people cannot be wrong. Therefore, they are never open to the concept of course correction. Any discomfort the followers had with what was going on was explained away as a defect in them that they needed to work on. They would not achieve the leader's goals until they had forfeited any and all thoughts that would arise as a product of their character or sense of self-protection. When you are convinced in the beginning that you are there because you are wrong and bad and have screwed everything up without the help and guidance of this leader and this program, you are turned into moldable clay. Suppressive people are also those who try to leave the organization. There is no such thing as a valid organization that will not allow you to leave. Period. You were given free will when you came into this school, and it is your job to employ that as needed. There is no reasonable explanation for holding people hostage when they no longer want to be a member. These groups go to great lengths to harass and destroy any who leave them. No legitimate thought system you entertain should be one that can and will turn into an abusive relationship. No one is entitled to your time, your attendance, or devotion. There's absolutely no thought system that you should entertain that is unwilling to face closer examination or opposing opinions. That is a huge red flag and should always send you running in the other direction. All thought systems must be open to re-examination and refinement as the world is changing. We are changing, and we must be willing to update and improve. So in this cult, the leader pokes and prods them to give up the control they have over their own thoughts and actions until they are remade in his image. He, like most low-level people, tells them exactly what his philosophy is, but they take it as wisdom instead of seeing it as the vital warning it is of his lack of spiritual awareness. This lack means that every form of abuse, treachery, and deception are still on the table. He will use all of it against them, and his words will let them know that. Of course, he is a flaming narcissist, so he has most of his interactions filmed so that the world may someday experience his brilliance. He doesn't seem to get that he is nothing more than a study in evil, and that his naked ambition lays bare the machinations of someone who operates at that level. One of the devices that is used against us, and this is not limited to cults, is to tell us that we are wrong, bad, sinners, etc. Therefore, we should not trust our own hearts and minds. When you turn to an outside source, they will often turn your desire for growth against you by saying that you arrived as a mess. Therefore, you should listen to them instead of any and all of your internal voices. You are bad and wrong, and you don't have it all figured out yet, so they will break you down and reprogram you to what serves them best. So the followers do and think as they are told. Then, when they wake up to the truth, find themselves racked with guilt and shame about having participated. The wild thing in this life is that it is usually the recipients of abuse who carry the guilt and shame instead of the mastermind of delivering the abuse. It should be his to carry, not theirs. His evil should be more shameful than their willingness to believe in him. To live in the space of that guilt and shame is what will make them susceptible to the next person who comes along and promises to deliver them from a place of being broken, wrong, and not enough. They cannot afford to stay in that space. Being overly trusting does not make you wrong or bad, but it will likely deliver to you lessons that make you recalibrate and sharpen your ability to detect ulterior motives in others. Your job is to zero in on your strengths and energies and to move more quickly away from that which is from a lower level and towards that which is at a higher level. Your job is to employ the attributes of honesty, integrity, empathy, humility, and an ability to self-reflect in your everyday life. To do so will move you to a higher level and will help you release everything and everyone who inhibit your growth. You are never required to devote your entire life to any person who promises you wisdom, salvation, or worthiness. You can achieve all of those things on your own by taking in new thoughts and concepts from the world around you, then moving on to the next. It's not that I think you need to be told not to join a cult. It's that we are living in a time when it is more important than ever that each and every person understand their own mind, trust their own path to knowledge, and stop seeking the approval of those who want and need to control you to achieve their own ends. No one ever thinks they're joining a cult, or any toxic relationship for that matter, but there are always signs. When you understand how brilliant you already are and how capable of forging your own path, you will not be willing to let others twist and turn your mind towards whatever their mission happens to be. You are on your own mission. It is valuable to watch the techniques used by cult leaders and the like. There is a very specific way that they operate. It helps to see it and hear it, so your spidey senses will be activated when you encounter anything like it in your own life. We would like to think that if a cult leader or a political leader are stripped of their power, we are in the clear. We are not. This is an ongoing challenge that you will face in this school. You will always be subject to people in all walks of life who want to co-opt your power and use you to achieve their ends. The only way forward is to shore up your own defenses. You need to be your own leader and trust that you, along with the guides that are always with you, are capable of finding the wisdom you need to move to a higher level and do what you're here to do. Don't be a pawn who is advancing someone else's agenda. Put all of your power and energy into using your honesty, integrity, empathy, and humility into each and every decision you make. Be willing to reflect on what is and is not working for you, and know that you can course correct. You don't want to waste your time cleaning up the messes of others. You've got bigger things to do. And if, along the way, you make some messes, be willing to clean them up, own your decisions, and use them to grow. You have everything inside of you and everything outside of you that you need to do this without attaching yourself to someone else's mission. Be on your own mission. Be your own commander. You are exactly that powerful. Thanks for listening to Rebirth Revolution. I hope it keeps you focused on your journey. Until next week, seek out joy. Laugh as much as possible. Vote as if your life depends on it, because it does. And wear your mask. Remember, you are loved exactly as much as every other person on the planet, not 1 ounce more or 1 ounce less. Stay strong and safe and stay in the fight. You are powerful.